is a good day, and I'm so glad that you're joining me here on Walking in Spirit and Truth, coming out of Life of Worship Ministries in Amarillo, Texas. And it's a good day here. We actually had a little bit of a warm up. Hope it's warm where you're at in the middle of winter. It's winter. Okay. And so it's just great to be part of your day. So, anyway, hey, we've got some great things planned. I am so excited to get back into Fort Ezra and to continue on this journey. I hope you've really been enjoying the journey. I mean, I certainly have been. And so I know there's been many people that have been staying tuned with me, and I certainly appreciate that. Hey, so Life of Worship Ministries, where are we? We are in Amarillo, Texas, and we gather on Shabbat for a Torah portion here at noon Central Time. And so if you are not in Amarillo, Texas, and would like to be part of our Torah portion as well as our encounter services, you can join us at Life of Worship Ministries YouTube channel. Let me go ahead and pull that up real quick so that you can see all. And if you've missed anything, like, I've missed a whole bunch of stuff. How do I get caught up? Or I want to go back to the beginning and refresh some of the things we've been talking about here at here on this program. So I have pulled up for you our Life of Worship Ministries YouTube channel. Now, here's the deal. If you do not, if you don't sign in and have your own subscription to YouTube, then what happens is you're always going to get a new feed and different things every time you go into YouTube. So I'm encouraging, just like you would sign up for a Facebook account or for, all these other different types of accounts that are out there and where you can post. You also have to do the same thing here on YouTube. And so you go to the Life of Worship Ministries channel. That's what you're seeing right here. And here we list a whole bunch of different things that we have on our channel. Now, we have multiple playlists. And on our playlist, so if you've been missing things and you're like, well, man, I missed the Torah portion, or I missed Walking in Spirit and Truth, or I've been missing this whole series on the priestly calendars, the Zadok priesthood, the Dead Sea Scrolls, how it affects us, how those silent years between Malachi to Matthew were not silent because Yah is still speaking. You can find them all here on the Life of Worship Ministries YouTube channel. In fact, if you're looking specifically for a particular series, go to our playlist. And when you pull up the playlist, this is what you're going to get. Here's the Zadok, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and How It Affects Us series. And you can click on the full playlist. And then here in order, you can see them all listed, beginning with Eddie Chumney, who started the whole series off with us on Walking in Spirit and Truth back on August 22nd. And then there's a whole series there. You can look at that. You say, well, I know how to navigate through this. I get these comments every once in a while. It's like, where can I find such and such? And they don't realize that under playlist, you can go back and follow through. Here's our Walking in Spirit and Truth full playlist. And when you pull that up, then you have all of the Ezra series, started with part 1, which began on October 24th. It's timeless, guys. Just because it was presented 2 months ago doesn't mean it's like, oh, well, it's like out of date. No, these are timeless, and you follow them step by step. Now, I haven't named all of these yet. Some I have and some I've not, but you can still follow through on the series, and they're going in chronological order, chapter by chapter. Before that, man, Pastor Sandi, she had started a series in Psalms 1:1, and even before that, we had a Psalms 23. Pastor Sandi did a tremendous job with that, as well as, hey, guess what? Yeah, I just saw it. There was one on Tobit. We talked about Tobit. If you want to know what's Tobit, yeah, one of those books, the pseudepigraphal books that I went through that a while back. And what else do we have? We had a whole series on Psalm 91. I don't see them here. I think that was before our YouTube channel was taken down, and we had to get a new YouTube channel. Because we dare to speak the truth around here. Actually, what had happened, well, I won't go into all that. So that is here at Life of Worship Ministries. That's how you can get caught up. And you can find it all put together, all Let Us Reason Together series and other types of messages at Life of Worship. There you go. There you have it. So that's, I wanted to share that real quick. And I also wanted to say thank you so much for those of you who have been part of Life of Worship, been praying for us, have been giving generously out of your finances to us. We have certainly appreciated that. And we're working through the finances. We made our rent payment. So we're still working on utilities. But hey, you know what? It's good. Y'all, is good all the time. You see our website scrolling there at the bottom of the page. And that's where you can go and find our website. There's a button that says donate, and you can just donate that way through PayPal, or you can get our mailing address and you can mail finances to us, because our address is on the website. So you also get our email page as well. All right. That's enough of that for today. By the way, our services, our encounter services, are at 3:00 on Shabbat, and where we have a time of praise, worship, ministry, and the message, and that's where we've been going through the study on the Zadok priesthood, the calendar, all that sort of different things. And by the way, if you need notes, you want to go back through that series and you don't have notes, just email us, and Pastor Sandi will get you notes for each one of those of the series of those messages that she's been able to dissect. First off, we don't have the notes for Eddie, but she gives notes that go along with the things that she's teaching. It is amazing. Absolutely a great study there. Okay. All right. So Ezra, right? We've been talking about Ezra. Remember, he is the Zadok priesthood. Well, he is a son of Zadok. He is in the Zadokite priesthood lineage. And so this gives him a lot of relevance to a lot of the things we've been discussing. And for Ezra is the part that they left out of the canon. And I think it seems to be just as valuable. And the things that we're reading, we can see a lot of parallels, a lot of the different things that are in the discussions of other scripture. And I love tying those connective dots together. And yet the bottom line, we see a consistent thing about Ezra is that he loves the people of Yah, and he loves Yah with all of his heart. And he understands where to get wisdom and understanding, following the protocols of the kingdom, by which Yahweh speaking to him gives him great admiration. Great admiration, I think. Anyway, he says that, in other words, Ezra's on the right track. Okay. All right. So I have my reading glasses here. We're going to look at a couple things over in Proverbs, by the way. Proverbs chapter 1, Proverbs chapter 3, 2, 3, some things like that. It's going to correspond with where we're at. Last week, we left off in Ezra chapter 13. Can you even believe that? 13 chapters. There's still more to it. Not much, though. There's only 16 chapters total in for Ezra. Or if you're looking at a King James Version Apocrypha, it's 2 Esdras. And we had left off with the Son of Man rising up out of the sea. Remember that? He saw a man coming out from the midst of the sea. This is Ezra chapter 13, and that his weapon that he came to slay and to destroy those who rose up against him was this fire that came out of his mouth. It was a blast of wind and fire and storm. Remember that? And where these men who are fighting amongst themselves on the earth, all when they saw the Son of Man, they all joined together, stopped their fighting to turn against Yeshua. And I kind of pondered on something. It kind of hit me. It's like, you wonder about the technology of AI. AI is artificial intelligence is what these globalists, these elitists, these world powers really want to use, because they can coordinate weaponry together when a whole bunch of people can't just sit in a control room and determine, the next factor in the war and do the war games. Like, they see these old movies in World War II where they would have a big map and they would have all these troops and armaments and tanks and stuff spread out across the map, and they would move, slide them across the map of where they were advancing in one area and how the enemy might be advancing in another area, and they would strategize about where they're going to move, their troops next in order to cut off the enemy or to bring about the next point of destruction or whatever. And so I was thinking, well, how can they even think they can come against Yeshua except through artificial intelligence, using the brain power in quantum physics, connecting all, you think about the circuitry and the chips and everything being uses GPS. And then how do you coordinate it all together to bring about the result that you want to bring it? And so I was thinking, the only way that they would even have the confidence to do that is if they think they have developed an AI system in order to say, yeah, okay, so here's this is the Almighty that is speaking with this blast of his breath. This is his weaponry. Well, how do we think we can even come close to that? Well, we're just gonna use this multifunctional brain that's artificial, that can move at the speed of thought in order to direct the weapons against Yeshua and his mighty. Well, all right. So, how do we? So this is how they united against Yeshua, and then ultimately in verse 37, where it says, "And this my son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations, which for their wicked life are fallen into the storm, into the tempest, and shall lay before them their evil thoughts and torments, wherewith they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto a flame, and shall be destroyed, and shall destroy them without labor by the Torah, which is like unto me." So here's my thought. Here's my thought process is that his weapon is the word, and his word is sharper than any two-edged sword. But what's it do? Well, one's thoughts, intents of the heart, his soul, his mind, will, and emotions have been designed to be eternally tormented when it has severed itself from the Torah. And there is no weaponry, and there is no defense, and there's no protection against the living word. So, in Christian realms, which, I don't have a problem with the elevation of Yeshua above all things, but his word is not separated from himself. Yeshua is the word is Yeshua, right? They are one together, operating one and the same. So the fact that one would try to divorce the Torah from Yeshua is in essence trying to use their own inventions to divide asunder bone and marrow and spirit and soul. I mean, it's like an impossibility. So therefore, I think it's imperative that everybody gets on the right track. But this is why tribulation must come. This is why we are told about the 10 virgins. This is why some find out ultimately when the bridegroom is coming, the sound of the shofar, that the separation has caused them to realize, wait a minute, something is missing. And at that point in time, you can't just repent. It's too late. It's too late. So here we are, and then those that are totally without Yeshua have absolutely nothing in their arsenal to defend against the truth that burns like a fire, literally destroys. And I mean, it is a physical and a spiritual thing that is operating together. So, and this is where we left off, and we're going to start in verse 39, where it says, "And whereas you saw that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him." So you got to go back to the vision, or go back and reread the first part of chapter 13, because after this war, we see another gathering. You see this war against Yeshua, and we see another gathering. Well, who is being gathered? And it says, "Whereas you saw that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him." Well, who is the peaceable multitude? Well, it's the ones who have given their lives to the Sar Shalom, and it says, "Those are the 10 tribes, which are carried away prisoner out of their own land into the in the time of Husha." Well, who is the time of Husha? Is the time of Hosea. I'm sorry, Husha the king. Another name for Hosea, I think. Anyway, Husha the king, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Ashur, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. Well, what waters were they carried over? They were carried over the Jordan, and they were brought into the land of Assyria. And then a period of time passed, and it says, "But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt." That fascinates me. So it's talking about the 10 tribes by where they were taken into the land of captivity during this time of the king of Ashur, the king of Assyria. And a certain point in time came where they said, "We don't like living among these guys." I mean, the Assyrians were wicked people. Honestly, they did really bad things. If they considered you an enemy of the state, a spy, treasonous, a criminal, I mean, it was execution was quick. Judgment was quick. All right, so judgment comes before execution, of course, but judgment would come quickly, and then they would impale you in your entire body. Yes, right up the middle. And put you on this pole at the city entrance. They were known for that. They were known for their barbarism, and they ruled with terror. It's a horrible thing. Well, they got tired of living among the heathen. By the way, that whole series, that whole studying on Tobit, well, that's during the time as well. There during the time of the 10 tribe exile in Ashur, in Assyria. So very interesting. Go back and listen to that. And the miraculous things, those miraculous things that took place back then. Deliverance, a mighty deliverance, yet from the demonic. Yeah, it's all in that series. Okay, on that, it's just one walking in spirit and truth. Just a shameless plug. Let's move on. And it says that, but they took counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth to a further country that where never mankind dwelt. So this really tells you about the population of the earth. That they understood that beyond the known borders of their day, so where Assyria was a very powerful nation at the time, and that they knew that beyond Assyria's borders, it was uninhabited. I mean, think about the population of the earth. It wasn't that great at that time. Everyone survived and lived within that area from Mesopotamia, Persia, Persia, all the way down and through the land of Israel down to Egypt, and then there's this progression of moving out. There's populations we know at the time of Moses, that Moses, according to Jasher, that he went and lived in the land of Cush. So so there's the areas of Ethiopia and Libya, and that maybe there's populations, but we have to understand that the populations outside is people like to live close enough with each other to where they could trade with each other. And once you go beyond those bounds, then you're out of the trade routes, and your chances of survival begins to diminish, unless you have a very strong, cohesive culture and group. So, kind of there's a preppers thing for you. You got to have a strong, cohesive group of people in order to survive if you are cut off from the rest of society and culture. So let's go on. Going forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there guard their statutes. And I get this. Now get this. That they might guard their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. Now, when you read Tobit, you see that when the remnant were well, not the remnant, or the survivors of the captives or whatever that were taken to Ashur, into Assyria, that there's a strong Torah-believing culture that preserved that which they had abandoned when they lived in the land. So the northern kingdom may have abandoned in the land, but there seems to have been some type of revival back to it when they were in captivity. And going on is that they might guard their statutes, which they never kept in their own land, and they entered into Parath by the narrow places of the river. Okay, so here's another interesting connection. And so Parath. Well, where do we first learn about Parath? Well, we can go back to Genesis chapter 2. Okay, I got my finger in Proverbs. If you're in Proverbs, you can jump back with me over to Genesis chapter 2, talking about a river flowed out of Eden to the water of the garden. From it divided into 4 rivers. The first is Pishon. The name of the second river, Gihon. Third river is Tigris. It flows east of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. The Euphrat. So the land of the Euphrat and was one of the rivers that came out of the garden, and the land of the Euphrat is obviously was a border and a boundary because it was a big, powerful river. And now, if you listened to Let Us Reason Together on Monday, we had a little discussion about Euphrat, or the Euphrates, or the 7 streams, or which could be the oceans. But nevertheless, what did they say? In this case, it says that they entered into the Proth by the narrow places of the river. So it's talking specifically about the Euphrates River in a narrow place. Now, Proth also means fruitfulness, I believe. Fruitfulness, I looked it up before. And so the narrow places, why? Because it fed that whole Mesopotamian area, and a lot of agriculture came out of that area. And it says by the narrow places of the river, for El Elyon then showed signs for them and held still the floods till they were passed over. Now, wow, we know that Israel passed through the Red Sea because y'all pulled back the waters. We know that when, after 40 years in the wilderness and they came to the Jordan, that Yahweh held back the waters, right? And I think at one point in time we understood that the Jordan River was at flood stage when they crossed on dry ground because Yah held back the waters. And we've got a little bit of a recognition or connection here, is that he showed signs for them, signs and wonders. Remember, signs and wonders, these things that they couldn't do outside of themselves. They didn't have to make a whole bunch of rafts to ferry themselves across this river, apparently. And it says, and for El Elyon then showed signs for them and held still the flood, so held back the waters till they were passed over. Man, because why? A gateway was opened to them to go to populate the rest of the world, to bring forth their statutes wherever they were going to live. As they populate the rest of the world, they're following the commandment to be fruitful and to multiply and to go populate the world. This is what they're doing. They were not inspired to travel back to the land. They were inspired to go forth and go out further away. And so it was a migration out of captivity. By the way, they were called the sons of Isaac. That's how they had been come to be known as the sons of Isaac. Well, the sons of Isaac were, of course, the sons of Jacob. Sons of Jacob were the 12 tribes, and out of that we have the 10 tribes that we were just talking about. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Atzereth. I got some information for you. Where is the land of Atzereth? Well, I looked it up because I just happen to have here in the Sefer version a Strong's number for Atzereth, and that Atzereth is the Hebrew word also as Tafafa. Tafafa. There we go. All right. Well, what does that word mean? Let's just get off the Hebrew, because I had to go look in the Hebrews. You know what that is? The land of the phylactery. They went to the land of the phylactery. What? Wait a minute. Well, isn't it in the word in their heads? And this is where we get this whole idea and the concept of phylacteries, and which are bands or frontlets, or shall we say marks. So they carried with them, in other words, they went to the land of Atzereth. They went to the land where they set themselves as marked by God. In other words, as covenant people, the sign of the Tav, a covenant people, a mark. They were marked people, marked by Yah to go into the land. Now, the opposite is also true. Remember Cain? Cain was marked by God that no one would kill him, lest they suffer the same death. And so yet here, these 10 tribes travel forth marked by God. And what does the phylacteries have in them but the statutes of God, to be as a remembrance unto them? And so I just think that is an amazing a little discourse, gives us some understanding, because the migration patterns, then it says they went a year and a half. So go from the Euphrates River, that just as you cross over from Assyria, and then go north a year and a half. Well, if you're hiking for a year and a half, where are you going to go? Well, that would bring you up through present day Azerbaijan, Armenia, maybe parts of Turkey. It would take you up into Georgia, Ossetia. It would take you between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. And as you traveled around north of the Black Sea, if you didn't want to get too far north because it's going to get really cold, and you made some changes in direction and you headed towards let's say, to the west, then you would be going through what we know as southern Russia, modern current day areas of the Donbass, across the Dnipro River into modern day Ukraine. You see all sorts of rivers and names with the DN, which is for Don, that is named all throughout that area. This is the migration pattern. This is what I talked about before. The empire was not able to defeat the barbarians. Who were the barbarians? Those that lived north of the Roman Empire. Well, who was it? The Saxons, or the sons of Isaac. Sons of Isaac. I didn't quite finish my point earlier. And those were the ones that were living in that area. Isn't that a thought-provoking discussion? So here we are, and where we go on from there, and it says, El Elyon shall stay the springs of, I skipped some parts. Then dwell they there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. So it seems in this passage, in this narrative, this battle that the Son of Man is fighting, that there's still the peaceable ones, the multitudes that are considered to be, what do we call them? The peaceable multitude. And they're still out there in the lands after this great battle upon the mountain. And then it says, El Elyon shall stay so they're going to be kept there until the latter time, and El Elyon shall stay the springs of the stream again, that they may go through. Therefore saw you the multitude with peace. So what is it just saying? In other words, they're going to be out there, and now they're going to come back, and that Yah is going to hold back the waters wherever they're at, wherever he's going to make a way, wherever he's going to open up and stop the springs. And I'm just saying, Eddie and Tammy, divided waters again. Yes, it's talking about the divided waters again, but it's giving us a timeline after this great battle with Yeshua at Mount Zion, and where they're brought back. So I'm trying to put those pieces together, because there's a greater exodus coming. And here he's talking about a greater exodus. And it says, El Elyon shall stay the springs of the stream again, that they may go through. Therefore saw you the multitude with peace. But those that be left behind of your people are they that are found within my borders. So now there's another group that's left behind, and there's people that are left in the land. So there's people that are outside the land, and those that are in the land. And I'm thinking of that song that we sang about that I will bring you back. I will bring you back once again. I wish I had those words here in front of me, but I don't have them. And Daughters of Zion, that's the name of it. You look it up, Daughters of Zion. And those that be left behind of your people are they that are found within my borders. Now, when he destroys the multitude of the nations, in other words, going to be people still living in the land, and then, of course, those that have been dispersed among the nations. And when he destroys the multitude of the nations that are gathered together, he shall defend his people that remain. So, now, I want you to think about, we got current events going on right now. Current events that are pretty, we think, man, what's happening? In fact, they're telling the hospitals in Israel, get ready for lots of people brought in because of injuries. I mean, we think about all of these people that have migrated to the land, and these people migrated in the land because they felt the call of the land to bring them back to the land, and they have moved there. They have settled within the land of the current land that we call Israel today. And when you think about these people, and they just are living their lives, they're just trying to get from day to day and provide for their families. And it's not easy living in Israel, and it's pretty expensive. And so it says that those people that are gathered there, he shall defend his people that remain. And then shall he show them great wonders. So there's going to be a bunch of signs and miracles taking place in the land and outside of the land. And then shall he show them great wonders. Then I said, oh, Yahweh Adonai, show me this. Why have I seen the man coming up out from the midst of the sea? And he said unto me, like as you can neither seek out nor know the things that are in the deep of the sea, even so can no man upon earth see my son or those that be with him, but in the day. Or it says here, but in the daytime. So think about this. When the Son of Man comes upon the earth, it will be a glorious day. Think about that. It'll be a glorious day, or it will be the day of Yahweh. So when he's talking about it, it says that no man upon the earth see my son or those that be with him. Well, who's with him? Well, he's got a multitude with him. Maybe the bride is with him. The bride is with him. The multitudes of the heavenly armies are with him, that they will not be seen by the people on the earth until that day. And this is the interpretation of the dream which you saw, whereby you only are here are lightened. So only he has been given the wisdom, the understanding. He's been given the ability to perceive and have understanding about this great end time event. And why? Why is he one chosen? Like Daniel was chosen, like Ezekiel saw things, why John saw things. And it says, for you have forsaken your own way and applied your diligence unto my Torah. So Ezra was found to be diligent in studying the Torah, in studying, and another word for Torah is the instructions of Yah. It is the foundation of that. So all you people that are like, I think that word, the Torah, has expired. It's just a bunch of good stories, and we don't need that. We just have the New Testament only. Guys, that's not very smart. And yeah, you as Eddie and Tammy put on here, it says, you shall not see my face until you say, Baruch haba b'shem Yehovah. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. I like that. And it says, for you have forsaken your own way and applied your diligence unto my Torah and sought it. Oh, that's a key. So all of you New Testament only brethren, I just want you to just think about that. If you've lasted this long into our broadcast here, and you think, I don't get this thing about the Torah, but you keep going back to it. You keep telling us to be Jewish or whatever. No, we're not telling you to be Jewish. We're telling you to be a student of the word. Isn't that what Paul said? Isn't that what the Bereans did? They looked into the scriptures to see if it were so. Okay? That's what a good Berean does. They said, don't make them put all these demands on the people. Acts chapter 15, Acts chapter 16. Don't put the demands on these people except these four things, because Moses is taught every Shabbat in the synagogue. So therefore, what's taught? Moses for the first 5 books. And you go back to there. He says, you applied your diligence to my Torah. That's why we have the Torah portion studies at Life of Worship. We're diligently studying it. That's why a Lamb Network is here, so we diligently study this word. And not only do we apply our diligence unto my Torah or my instructions or to my word, and sought it. Well, how do you seek something? It's, in other words, it's not only just line upon line and precept upon precept, which is really, honestly, that's baby talk. It's just saying that's like a rebuke. It's a rebuke to the people saying, you're only able to take one nibble at a time. So if that's how what it's going to be, then it's going to be one nibble at a time, one nibble upon a time, one concept at a time, until you get it. All right, so it's not bad, but until you get the understanding of it, if that's how you're going to seek it, if that's the only way that you can seek it, that's how you have to apply your diligence to seek it and say, well, what is the process of having sought it? It means, okay, I've taken a bite. Now I'm applying it. I'm taking the bite and now I'm applying it. He's giving accolades by Yehovah, by Yahweh, saying, you forsook your own way, applied diligence to my Torah, and sought it. Your life have you ordered in wisdom, and have called understanding your mother, and therefore have I showed you the treasures of El Elyon. So, I want you to, Selah, I want that to sink in for just a minute, because your life you have ordered in wisdom and have called understanding your mother, and therefore I showed you all the treasures of El Elyon. Or not all the treasures, but I showed you the treasures of El Elyon. By the way, in chapter 14, we're not going to get to, I think we're going to have to wait for that one. But in chapter 14, he gets more instructions, and he gets a 40-day download. Yeah, 40-day download. So why? Because he has forsaken his own way. He's applied diligence unto Yahweh's Torah and sought it. And he ordered his life in wisdom and have called understanding your mother. And I'm so glad that you're tuned in. You're connected here, Eddie and Tammy, because that's why we're going back to Proverbs. And we're going to look at a couple different things that's going to tie this together. And in Proverbs chapter 1, let's look at verse. Let's go to verse. Okay, we're going to go to verse 21st. Wisdom shouts in the street. She lifts her voice in the square. At the head of the noisy street, she cries out. At the entrance of the gates in her city, she utters her sayings. Well, what is wisdom? It's the Torah speaking. It's all metaphorical about Torah. Wisdom, she is Torah. How long, O naive ones, will you love simplicity, and scoffers delight themselves in scoffing? So naive ones are the ones that say, I don't think it applies. I think it expired. I think it's been deleted. I think, they won't say that the word of God is deleted because the word of God never changes. Oh, I did say that. Did I say that? That Yeshua is the word and he is the same yesterday, today, and forever? Well, let's continue to connect the dots, because we have this paradigm that honestly is a barrier, and it's caused people to become foolish, and fools hate knowledge. That's Proverbs 1:22. Turn to my reproof. Turn to my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit on you. I will make my words known to you. Turn to my reproof. So what did Ezra do? He forsake his own way. He turned to his reproof. The word said, don't follow after your own ways, because that's foolish. And then, behold, I will pour out my spirit onto you. Can I tell you something real quick? A little sneak preview. And that is in Ezra 14, verse 22. But if I found grace before you, send the Ruach HaKodesh unto me. And all that has been done in the world since the beginning, which that men may path, that will live the latter days, may live. Yeah, there's a little bit of a preview that and then get this. This is in chapter 14 as well, where it says in verse 38 of chapter 14, and the next day, behold, a voice called me, saying, Ezra, open your mouth and drink that I give you to drink. Then I opened my mouth, and behold, he reached me a full cup, which was full, as it were, with water, but the color it was like fire. And I took it and drank. And when I had drunk of it, my heart uttered understanding, and wisdom grew in my breast, for my ruach strengthened my memory, and my mouth was opened and shut no more. Wow. All right. Behold, I will pour out my spirit on you. I will make my words known to you. This is Ezra's experience. Okay. And by the way, these were penned by Solomon, and these words, by the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, penned by Solomon, is prior to Ezra. And he's finding the word true, the wisdom true. And so let's look at some other things about wisdom. Chapter 2, verse 2, make your ear attentive to wisdom, incline your heart to understanding. This is how we seek after Yahweh. This is how we do the same thing that Ezra did. This is so that those treasures are opened up to us as well. If you seek her as for if you cry for discernment, lift your voice for understanding. If you seek her as silver and search for her as for hidden treasures, then you will discern the fear of Yahweh and discover the knowledge of El. For Yahweh gives wisdom, and from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity, guarding the paths of justice. And you can read on for yourself. I don't want me to read all these things. I just think it's really good. But verse 10 of chapter 2 of Proverbs, for wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will guard you, and understanding will watch over you to deliver you from the way of evil, from the man who speaks perverse things, from those who leave the paths of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness. And so it goes on. I mean, it just says, this is what you're protected from. Well, guess what? This is what those people back in the peaceable multitude going into a further country understood, and Yahweh showed signs for them. In other words, there was the path was lightened. A lamp was a lamp to their feet and a light to their path, with signs allowing them to pass over the Euphrates, the Phratis, and going into the land of Atzereth, which we talked about. By the way, more about the phylacteries, that land of Atzereth, the phylacteries, the bands, the frontlets, the marks. You know what else that it is also defined as? Another land. They were taken into another land. Also, it's called sacred ground. Sacred ground. And it's also speaks about those set apart. This is a description of the 10 tribes. The 10 tribes. They go into another land which is considered sacred ground. I want to let you know that where you and I live, because we are outside of the land of Israel, I'm not talking about the state of Israel, but the land of Israel, that was given to Abraham and the people that Moses got to see, right? That we are in a land that's set apart. It is a sacred land. I want you to consider that. I consider that we're in a sacred land, not the land, but it's sacred because this is the land that's preserved us so that we can preserve the statutes of Yah. So I think about the inheritance that we have of, we talked a little bit about maybe this on Mondays, walking about even the Moravian Brethren, the heritage that came out of the great missionary movement of the Moravian Brethren, the 100 years of uninterrupted uninterrupted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week prayer for 100 years, and which has been given credited as the modern missionary movement. But nevertheless, let's go on. For in verse 21, it says of chapter 2 of Proverbs, "For the upright will live in the land, and the blameless will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the land, and the treacherous will be uprooted from it." Well, we're talking history and we're talking prophecy with that. But nevertheless, Proverbs chapter 3 gives us a lot more. I was going to read a bunch of different things from it. Oh, yeah, no, okay, yeah. We're talking about the mark. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 3, do not, start in verse 1, "My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and years of life and peace will add to you. And do not let kindness and truth leave you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart." There we go. There's this mark, the mark that we see, that's more than just what's on the forehead and bound around the right hand, but nevertheless, it's even bound around the neck and written on the tablet of our hearts. We know about how the covenant will be written not on tablets of stone, but on the hearts of flesh, so you will find favor and great repute in the sight of God, in the sight of El and man. Trust in Yahweh with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, make your path straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes, and fear Yahweh, and turn away from evil. Now, because it's healing to the body and refreshment to your bones. Honor Yahweh with your wealth and from the rest of all your produce. I mean, it just goes on and on. So, but I'm going to bring out one more part, and that's in verse 21 of chapter 3 of Proverbs. "My son, let them not depart from your sight. Keep sound wisdom and discretion, and so will be life to your soul and adornment to your neck. Then you will walk in your way securely, and your foot will not stumble. Then you will lie down and will not be afraid. And when you lie down, your sleep will be sweet." So when we hear these things, and there's so much more in Proverbs, it goes along with it, but now we understand these 10 tribes that were preserved. Why? Because of these elements. Then we see, why was this download given to Ezra? Because he kept the ways of Yahweh, and he's declaring it among his brethren. And then we see, and then he also, then it prepares, it's the preparation. This is the preparation of the heart to receive the treasures of Yahweh. That spoke about his time, about the time to come. And then he's given the instruction, where after another 3 days, so 3 more days, I'm going to speak to you about certain things. I'm going to declare unto you mighty and wondrous things. Then went I forth into the field, giving praise and thanks greatly unto El Elyon, because of the wonders which he did in time, and because he governs the same, such things as fall in their seasons. And there I sat 3 days. Well, there's more to come. We're going to be in chapter 14 next time. So I hope that you've gotten a little bit out of this through the diatribes I've kind of walked through, and kind of seeing how it's all put together. And if you want to, remember some of these things, I showed you where you can find it on the Life of Worship YouTube channel, Life of Worship Ministries YouTube channel, and there'll be even more from there. So I want to say thanks for being part of this discussion. So until next time, this is John Craig on behalf of Life of Worship Ministries here in Amarillo, Texas, and Lamb Network. And until next time.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings discussion and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.